You want to know a saying that I just absolutely hate? It is, you have to love yourself before you can love somebody else. It is just utter nonsense. It is just so not true. And in fact, if you have experienced any kind of trauma in your life or you have low self-esteem, this is just, it's like the worst saying that you could possibly believe, because the reality is that we have to experience being loved before we can feel lovable. We can absolutely love somebody else without loving ourselves. It happens all the time. In fact, people-pleasing behavior is a perfect example of that, where we can be enamored with somebody, absolutely love them, fuse our souls with theirs, and still carry with us this deep feeling of unlovability and unworthiness. So don't say that, because it's completely untrue and it is not very helpful. In fact, if anything, if you are feeling like there is something wrong with you, if you feel unlovable, if you feel like, you just look at yourself like a piece of garbage, or that you're really not worth anything, if you feel like you are constantly giving and giving and giving and giving, and uncomfortable receiving or accepting compliments, or having somebody else do for you, then you are probably living with a kind of a damaged sense of self, right? A broken sense of self. And it doesn't make you bad, sick, or wrong, or that you're nuts, or that there's anything inherently wrong with you. It's just that part of you that we all have, right? We all have this need for a sense to feel valued, right? That there is something just about us as human beings that has some inherent dignity, right? That has something that people love, and that we have some value in the world. And when we grow up in a home where our parents are too busy for us, right? Or that any kind of love from our parents depends on our performance in school, or how we look, or, things that we accomplish, or awards that we get, or if our parents are so busy in their own lives that we just kind of feel like alone a lot, and that our parents are not emotionally engaged with us, right? We grow up with this sense that, we have to somehow prove our worthiness, right? That somehow we don't have anything inherent to us that is lovable, because we haven't experienced that, right? It's like we haven't had people in our lives who have paid attention to us just simply because they value us, right? And, the attention is is kind of the currency of value, right? We pay attention to the things that we value, right? The things that are important to us. And when we don't pay attention to our partner, when we don't pay attention to our kids, or when our partner doesn't pay attention to us, our parents hadn't paid attention to us, it affects our sense of value. And so this whole idea that somehow you need to fix that before you can love somebody else, it's absurd. And I'm sure it came from some kind of pop psychology publication out there somewhere, but it is just absolutely not true. And hearing that just absolutely makes me crazy, because it is exactly the opposite of that. We absolutely can love other people, but without feeling lovable. But what is oftentimes harder for us is to ask for people to love us when we haven't experienced that. And so the challenge that I would give you, or the perspective that I would offer here, right, is that your job, right, maybe not your job. Let me say it this way. I encourage you to open yourself up to compliments, to open yourself up to receive attention from others, receive that people may want to do something for you, even though it may feel uncomfortable and you don't know what to do with that. Because you're like, yeah, because when people say nice things, it doesn't feel, congruous with, or we have kind of this cognitive dissonance around how we feel and the things that people are saying. And what we need to do is we need to just become open and receive those compliments. We need to receive people's attention. We need to allow other people to nurture us. And by doing that, then we start to develop a sense of being valued. And that allows us to be in partnership with another rather than being in kind of a bit more of a emotionally subservient role where it feels like we always have to prove our worthiness and we always have to give and be very uncomfortable with receiving and allowing them to be to love us and to say positive things about us. And the last thing I'll say is I know what that feels like, right? I really do. When people used to tell me like good things about me, I just would think, first of all, I would really rather you just not say anything positive about me because it makes me uncomfortable. And second, it's like, if you really knew me, what was going on behind the scenes and how unlovable I really was, you wouldn't be saying the things that you do. And so it's kind of like, let's just avoid all this uncomfortable stuff and just, I can do for you. I can say nice things to you, but just don't do that to me because frankly, I'm not comfortable with it. It sounds insane to say out loud, but if you've experienced emotional trauma and, your sense of value has been affected, I'll bet you know exactly what I'm talking about. All right. And so this whole notion of you have to love yourself before you love somebody else, toss it in the garbage can. It's a bunch of nonsense. Whoever said that doesn't know what they're talking about. And what I would say is, in order for you to learn to love yourself, you need to be able to receive love from others. Allow them to love you. Receive that. Allow people to pay attention to you. Don't reject that. Don't put walls up, right? When somebody says something nice to you, just say thank you.